Powered by Sports Interaction, Canada Sportsbook.
Well, it's never boring. Welcome to this Game 4 edition of Game Over Calgary. I'm Peter. He is Auddie. And that was a thing that we just watched. And we will
I find that we say that
one.
more and more as these games go on. That was a thing.
yeah. And this one had a few things in it that we have the opportunity to break down here. And boy, will we over the next little while. Thank you all for joining us here on Game Over Calgary as the Battle of Alberta continues with the Oilers now up in the series. Can the Flames bounce back and tie this thing up as this series will continue in Edmonton for Game 4? Ask our friends over at Sports Interaction, doing it right since 1997. Sports Interaction is Canada's sportsbook with the most competitive odds. Sports Interaction makes it easy to deposit, play, and cash out before the game starts, live in play, or how your favorite player will perform. I will be looking for Milan Lucic playoff minute bets next game. See all sports betting has to offer. Join at sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. That's sportsinteraction.com/SDPN. 19 years and older. Please play responsibly. So a 4-1 loss for the Calgary Flames at the hands of the Edmonton Oilers. And Auddie, I believe a lot of people will be discussing whether Milan Lucic played responsibly when he decided to, in some people's minds, truck stick Mike Smith, in other people's minds, lightly dust him with a feather. There is no denying that this is the biggest talking point coming out of this game. So first of all, how are you? Second of all, oh my God. That was, again, I feel like I'm saying it too much and I need a thesaurus, but that was a thing that we saw tonight.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to preface with we need to really mind how long we talk about this whole Lucic thing, because if this is a Flame show, this is the only thing we're talking about tonight, because the performance was abysmal from everybody else. Not that Lucic was any good. It was just the only real talking point. To answer your first question, I'm doing okay. I'm laughing this one off because I was messaging you guys in the group chat before we hopped on, and I said I just want this game to end, and you were like, it ended a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I'm like, did it ever really start for the Flames? Like, did they ever really start this hockey game? I don't think the answer is yes.
No, they definitely did not. No, and you knew coming in. It's in Edmonton. It's the Battle of Alberta. They have the Moss Pit, which is an amazing name for that thing. Everything is the atmosphere is great. They all sung "Oh Canada." You knew the first 5 minutes the Oilers were going to come out and take it to the Flames, and 5 minutes turned into about 45 because Calgary just okay, you weathered the storm. That's fantastic. The storm was never weathered. I don't know what the opposite of weathering the storm was, but it's that.
Just the throwing your hands up in the air or the "this is fine" meme. I don't know. It's kind of how I felt all night. I was texting some buddies. I was like, yeah, this is fine. This is great.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, not the best of games, to say the least, putting it mildly. I'm excited. You see me I keep looking down here at chat because I'm really excited to see how many Oilers fans come in and troll us, and also how many worried Flames fans. So I see that we have some people coming in here. Let's get some conversation going in there. We only have a few. I'll let it catch up here, but right. It was a thing. Yeah, that's I think the best way to start this one out. The Lucic thing. I mean, aside from having a talking point, I'm going to people are going to take what I say with a grain of salt because they're going to call me being a homer or whatever. I really don't think it was all that bad.
Right.
If you watch it in slow motion, it kind of I had Leaf fans texting me during this one saying that it didn't look that bad. So first of all, going against the refs, and second of all, goalie contact from a Leafs fan, you know that it must not have been that bad. Mm-hmm. He looked like he tried to kind of pull up a little bit, but Mike Smith sold it like Mike Smith usually does. Not to say he didn't hit him, but he definitely added some theatrics to it.
Yeah, there was a bit of pro wrestling style job in there. Absolutely. Yes. There's a few things. One, if you watch it in slow motion, you'll never see it because everything Lucic does is in slow motion.
This is true.
But also, of course, we're coming at this from a bias standpoint, from a Flames perspective. You have jerseys behind you. There's a flag behind me. The show's called Game Over Calgary. This isn't Game Over completely impartial opinion on what just transpired. So we're going to come at this from a Calgary standpoint.
Yep.
He obviously hit him. And he was obviously going in there, I don't think with the intent to hit him, but at least to come close and maybe clip him along the lines of what Matthew Tkachuk did earlier in the game.
Right.
And to Andrew's point before we got on here, he's just not a good enough skater anymore to get around him. So I think there was a bit of that, but he obviously hit him. I don't think it was that bad. I think if this was a 2-1 game, A, I don't think he does it, but B, I don't think he gets 5 in a game for it. I think that this is a 4-0 hockey game, and this could get out of hand real quick if that guy is still in there. So let's just eliminate a problem in this. For the people calling for suspensions, I think that's a bit much. I think that he has now served the appropriate amount of time for the crime with which he committed, and we need to move on. One thing that desperately needs to change, and this isn't the main talking point out of it, I just have to bring it up now. We as a hockey culture need to realize that nothing looks more knuckle draggy than when a dude gets knocked down on the ice, 8 guys pile on top of him, fighting his honor. That is, and I would say the exact same thing if the roles were reversed. If Cassian went in and wallpapered Markstrom, and then Stone and Zadorov jumped in his defense, I would call it the stupidest knuckle draggiest thing ever too, because it's just, it's dumb. It's really, really dumb. And it looks so bad. And it terrifies me every time.
Yeah. You want to make matters worse. Like, and people in the comments here, I've got a few in the queue already talking about how he was in concussion protocol from that. That definitely doesn't help when you got, 3 guys, 250 plus piling up on top of him to make matters worse here. So I'll try to tackle through some of these comments here. First one says Lucic should be suspended the rest of the series. That hit was Bush League. I don't know.
There. That hit was Bush League. Yeah, he ran a goalie. He doesn't need to get suspended for the whole series. For it. Like, that's not. I flat out disagree with that.
If Trouba can get away with that headshot in the first round on Crosby, I don't think there's any chance in hell that Milan Lucic is getting suspended for what just happened on the ice 35 minutes ago. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. I'm not, it's not even being a homer. It's just, I know there's no consistency with player safety. And I know that this has been something that's been a talking point for years and years and years now. I just don't see it. The Trouba thing on Crosby, that actually put him into concussion protocol and he actually missed time about. Yeah, that's a little bit different. Mike Smith came back and finished his hockey game. So I don't know. Maybe this is just me being...
If he goes in and just like full out, or as much as he can full out, and just like absolutely NHL hits style, turn him into a fireball and send him into the boards, then like absolutely. But there was at least a bit of pulling up on him. It was him being a sore loser. If you want to call it Bush League, then absolutely call it Bush League. You will not get an argument from behind this microphone, but it's not suspendable for the rest of the series, however long that goes.
Yeah, no, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm obviously glad that Smith is okay and that there's nothing wrong. We don't want to see people getting hurt, and we don't wish any ill intent on anybody. So let's hear a couple more comments quickly. Awful one, boys. Don't know what to say. Yeah, trust me. Try hosting a show afterwards. Enjoy this one, everybody. If Lucic gets suspended, can the Oilers appeal it? I feel like you mean to say the Flames.
No, he means the Oilers. They're saying that it's beneficial to the Oilers to have Lucic out there. Yeah.
That one went right over my head. And you know what? It's funny because Oilers fans were actually tweeting about that when it happened. Like, don't do the Flames any favors by suspending Lucic. Blah, blah. That one went right over my head. Good on you for getting that getting that one past me. This one here says, skating down on the goalie like that in a 4-1 game is probably more knuckle draggy, but yes, jumping on Lucic while he's still on Smith is stupid. So lots of people kind of echoing your statement there. Andrew says, try doing 60 shows like this. Yeah, sorry about the game over Montreal.
Man, I've done a bunch of shows on a bunch of bad Flames teams. Me doing a show after a bad Flames loss. This is my default setting. So I got this one down. This is fine.
Another question here from Joe says, would your opinion that he doesn't deserve a suspension change if Smith was in fact injured?
No. I guess depending on the injury, I guess, but like, who was it who hit Gerard? Was it Sundqvist? No.
I don't know. I can't remember.
I forget who it was who hit him, but broke his sternum, bloodied up his face. I don't think that deserves a suspension. I don't think that you can, unless it is an extreme circumstance, I don't think that you can judge the result. I think there does have to be a little bit of like judge the intent, and that's a difficult thing to do. But I think in this case, Like unless the follow through like sends him head first into the boards, then it's an entirely different discussion. But no, I don't think that it would change if Mike Smith didn't get his stone cold Steve Austin entrance coming down the tunnel, which by the way was a definite missed upper. I get you're cranking the techno and everyone's getting into it during a timeout. The fact that the glass doesn't shatter and you don't get the da-da-da-da-da-da when Smith comes walking out there, this is why you need a wrestling fan in every building.
It would be quite funny. And I'm not a wrestling guy, but I still get the reference. So it's if everybody understands that one.
Yeah.
I'll let the comments kind of catch up here and we can try to continue along, which was a pretty devastating loss for the Calgary Flames. And one of the things that, I kind of thought about as I watched this game and because when it got to 3-0, even like the second goal, I was like, this is just, I don't think this is going to end the way we want it. 3-0, 4-0, sure enough, 4-1 final. But the more I thought about this loss, the more I thought maybe this is kind of what they need to get their, get their rear ends kicked and put things back into gear. Because they haven't played well all series. I feel like they needed to lose in such a dominant way that it kind of sparks things going down the stretch here.
I hear what you were saying, and hopefully that is what ends up happening.
I hope so. At least that's what I'm trying to rationalize with myself. And
I understand that. That would concern the hell out of me. You are in the Stanley Cup playoffs. You are, what is it? They've won 5 games out. You are 11 wins away from getting your name carved into a trophy for the rest of eternity, or at least a plate that will go into a nice room.
That's
for
right.
The rest of eternity.
Cool room, by the way.
Really cool room. Yeah.
Awesome
and
room.
Honestly, first time I walked in there, I was like, oh, that makes total sense. This thing would be 100 feet long.
Right.
It's like, it never clicked for me, but this makes complete sense that this is a thing that they do. But it has always been my issue with kind of this iteration of the Flames is like, oh, well, they just needed this to get going. Or crazy thought, in the third game of the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs, maybe get yourself going. Maybe figure out that this is a series you are playing against the best player on planet the world on the other side of it, and he is kicking the tar out of you.
Oh my God.
Hey, let's figure some stuff out. I came so close to swearing 9 times during that thing. I might have actually and just forgot about it. But like it bothers me so much that there would have to be they just needed a good kick in the rear end. If that happens January 26th in Columbus, fine. Game 3 of the Western Conference semifinal shouldn't happen. Shouldn't have to happen. It's very frustrating. Hopefully you're right. Hopefully we turn a negative into a positive, and you can do the old mantra of there are no losses. You either win or you learn. The Flames hopefully did a hell of a lot of learning coming out of this one. But I do see your point, because like you said, they haven't played that well. The one game they won in this series was gifted to them by terrible goaltending by the Edmonton Oilers. Mike Smith has been good since then, and the Flames haven't had any kind of answer for it, aside from running him over.
That's yeah. It's the only answer they had was they just try to take him right out. But I don't know. I don't even think Markstrom is to blame for this one either. You got burned on 3. I think you actually tweeted this during the game. 3 tap-in goals that were not his fault at all. I'm looking at Noah Hannafin because a lot of this it comes back to Noah Hannafin and just how bad he's played these last couple games. And we talked about how much we miss Tanev. I miss Chris Tanev more than anything else on planet Earth right now on this hockey team, because the defense just not doing it.
No,
there's a lot of things going wrong, but this is, Oliver Shillington hasn't looked good. He had maybe a flash of 5 minutes in this game where he looked okay. He scored. But other than that, hasn't looked fantastic. Noah Hannafin hasn't been great. I don't even think I've said Rasmus Anderson's name because he's been so abysmal. Yeah. It's just not good.
No, it's bad. I scoffed when Shillington scored. I was like, oh, screw off.
Of course. I
was at that point with this game where if they started doing something well, I was like, yeah, screw you. Don't even bother anymore. Why are you doing this? The thing that I think sums up this game perfectly, aside from Milan Lucic trying to be a monster truck, is Brett Kulak had a clear path to the net. That should never happen. That sentence is not a thing that should be said off that face-off when Kulak comes around and just kind of keeps going. It's, I guess I get to go to the net now. That's the Flames' top defensive pairing. that had that happen to them. And it's not like if they would have rushed to the front of the net to cover McDavid, I understand that. At that point, the lesser of two evils is definitely Brett Kulak. It was Vogel in the front of the net. Like the Oilers just decided not to cover Richie in front of the net. The Flames like, no, we're going to double team this dude. Like that kind of stuff shouldn't happen. And you're right that they are missing Tanev greatly because no one is playing well defensively. I do think part of that is Connor McDavid's making it look like no one's playing well defensively.
That's it too, yeah.
But then the fourth line for the Oilers was unstoppable tonight. And like Hyman's playing great. Like it's not just McDavid who's getting the success. It's Nugent, it's Hyman, it's Vogel for some freaking reason. And it's Archibald. Like it's all of them who are getting these opportunities, which means, like you said, this Flames blue line is playing atrocious right now. I don't put any of this on Jacob Markstrom at all.
No, and I feel like it was more of a sympathy pull, putting Vladar in just to like come on and get some rest. Like you're not getting any help and you don't deserve to be hung out to dry. I don't think there's too much to read into that pulling there. But just going back to some of the comments here in live chat, I skipped over one that actually kind of want to talk to. It's a good transition. Who was the best Flame on the ice tonight?
God, probably Markstrom.
I think so too. Yeah, and that's
if we're looking for a skate. Honestly, Vladar played well.
He did, yeah.
Coleman. If we have to pick a skater, I'm picking Blake Coleman. I think he was the lesser of 18 evils this evening. But I think that there was an energy, and when the Flames actually did anything, it's been him and Backlund this whole series who've been getting the job done. There are a bunch of different ways to go out of this one, and it shouldn't be the main focus. I'm done with Yarncroc not doing anything. I'm done with seeing 91 scoot into my screen in the second period and going, oh, damn, I forgot about that dude. Like that, he needs to have somewhat of an impact in this series. There are a number of guys who need to, and I think this could be a good kind of transition to the next point.
Of course.
The Edmonton top line has been dominant to the point where Evander Kane is getting hat tricks.
Yes.
I'm going to need Johnny Gaudreau, Matthew Tkachuk, and Elias Lindholm to have more than two good shifts in a hockey game. And we have been on Tkachuk a lot, and I think rightfully so. And I think, like, again, had a couple moments. I think Gaudreau has been okay. I need to notice Lindholm a little bit more too. And I know, like, dude got a Selke nominee. He was excellent this season, and he does a whole lot defensively that you don't notice. But when that other line is very noticeable, I need to see you. I need to see what you are contributing now offensively. So while I think a lot of the focus is going to be on Tkachuk, I think Lindholm needs to be a hell of a lot better in this series if this Flames team is going to do anything.
Oh, absolutely. That top line as a whole hasn't been nothing to write home about in this in this series. You talk about Backlund and Coleman. You know, I'll throw Mangiapane. Hasn't played fantastic, but he's been better than the top three. So I want to see more. I don't know what it's going to take. We're here going into game 4. And these guys are still really yet to show up. It's going to be too late pretty soon if they don't. I would say next game is pretty pivotal. You either tie the series and go back home, or you go back home on the brink of elimination. So it's kind of a big one, kind of just a little bit a big deal. So it's pretty much now or never. I'm not saying that it's completely out of the realm of possibility that they come back from a 3-1 deficit and end up winning this series, but it's a hell of a lot harder than turning a best of 7 into best of 3. So it's pivotal. It's going to be huge. I'm looking forward to seeing what they can do. I want to see the response. I just want to see. I want them to really want this. That's what I want. I want them to want it as much as everybody else does.
The good thing is we did almost this exact same show last series, right? Like after game 3, we both came on here, yelled and screamed and threw stuff around saying how bad that team played. And if this is what it's going to be, then things need to change. And like, we're driving Johnny Gaudreau to the airport and all of these things.
Yeah.
And so it's like, this team has been able to bounce back from this before, but that team over there isn't Dallas. You know, like this is another level. As much as it would annoy anyone to compliment that team right now, the Oilers are playing very good hockey, and they are doing what we thought the Flames would be able to do, because they're rolling 4 lines out there. Like they are able to do that, while the Flames, as we've discussed, at best have had one to do this series. Like, it has been a complete reversal of what was supposed to happen for this Flames team. Like, you kind of knew coming in, McDavid is going to get the better of you at times. Like, that's going to be a thing. I didn't think it would be to the tune of 1,000 points in 3 games, but you knew he was going to get his. The thing was, like, lines 2 through 4, the Flames should have the advantage. And for the first 3 games of the series, I don't think that's the case.
No, not at all. And that's it's frustrating too, because you and I talked about it after Game 7 against Dallas, and we were looking ahead to this series. Where do the Flames win? And basically they won everything outside of the top line. Mm-hmm. But now it's like, holy smokes, everybody else can score too. And wait a second, this Oilers decor is all of a sudden here for the playoffs, and they're getting stops. And I don't know if that's a product of Calgary playing bad and making them look a lot better, which I think could very well be part of the case there as well. Mm-hmm. But it's been so frustrating, because everything, like you said, that we were expecting the series to go well for Calgary is now in turn going well for Edmonton. So it's not good.
No,
it's not good.
It really isn't. It has almost looked like, and this could be where the kick in the ass thing kind of comes into play that you were talking about. It looks like after day 1, they were like, oh, this is going to be easy. Like we took our foot off the gas for a couple of minutes, but aside from that, we got 9 tonight. This is going to be a piece of cake. And then they got a couple early in game 2, and they haven't got any since. I think they're getting outscored 8-1 in the last 9 goals of the series. That is not. That's very concerning from a Flames standpoint. How's the chat handling this one?
You know what? You can see me keep on looking down here. A couple comments here. One coming back to Lucic. How about give Lucic a fine? Then everyone can be angry. Yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see.
Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised though. Given
I think you maybe you give him something just as like a hey, don't do that. I think anyone who gets angry over an NHL player getting fined is hilarious to me, but that's another discussion for another time. How dare you take $2,000 away from a millionaire?
Oh, come on, monster! Especially given how much this guy makes.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
To do what he does.
Yeah,
to do what he does. This one says, I guess Vladar was the best Flame. Yeah, pretty close. Another one says Markstrom or Vladar in game 4. And I'm saying you go back to Markstrom, who has not been bad outside of game 1.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think like the 4 goals that were scored on him were from a combined 10 feet out. Like there's, and that's being generous. It might be 6.
A lot of odd man rushes too, which is not something he can do.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like it's so cliche, but it's 5 mistakes before it gets to the goalie, right? And this is 100% that situation. As we discussed last game, unless there is some kind of an injury to Jacob Markstrom, Vladar has started his last game of this season. The Oilers could get 12 in the next game, and I'm rolling back with Markstrom for the following game. Like he is a Vezina nominated goalie, and he is the only reason that you are able to have home ice advantage, which you've pissed away, but you have home ice advantage in this series because that dude was that good this season. I'm not going away from him in this series in that way.
No, and given how he was deployed all year, the way that Daryl ran him, it's not indicative of a couple games like this, and he's all of a sudden going to change his mind and go back to Vladar. He hasn't been in on Vladar that much all year. How many did Markstrom start? 6, 7? Does it start with a 6 or a 7?
I think it only started with a 6, but it's a lot.
It's 60 something. It's a high 6. So yeah, it's you go back to you go back to that without a reason of doubt. Keeping up with chat as we come along here after a 4-1 Calgary Flames lost here in game 3. Where did Tanev go? He is injured. What is the injury? I don't even know. Do we know?
I believe the technical designation is a lower body injury because a dude fell on him.
That's right.
So he got hurt in the kind of middle point of game 7 against Dallas. Dude fell on the back of his legs as he was down a little bit. So that is what he is out with. Also, quick check, 63 games for Markstrom this season, which is clearly a career high for him, which was something I talked about before.
Yes.
I wonder if that's kind of coming back. But Tanev's taking part in the morning skate, so I wonder if he is at least close, because
that's what I would hope. I'm just like, this guy keeps skating and he's like toying with my emotions. Like, are you good or not? Like, they could really use you right now, please. I want to run something by you too, because we talked about it last game and nothing really changed, but there's certainly some some justification for change going into game 4.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that looks like, but if Tanev's okay, I wouldn't, I think we probably are on the same page with the Shillington thing and leaving Stone in.
Mhm.
But like, is there at any point, do we see Ryan Carpenter in this series? Do we see Adam Ruzicka in this series? Like, is now the time to start mixing it up and give guys like maybe Trevor Lewis, who had a terrible hockey game, a rest?
Yeah.
Or I don't know. What do you do? What's your take? You're the smart one of the two of us. So
Oh Lord, then we're in trouble. Yeah.
somebody in the chat said that Auddie and Peter are so smart. So I figured I would
Oh, thank
I
you.
would pump your tires a little bit. But
Yeah,
yes,
no,
what are you doing, Peter Klein, GM of the Calgary Flames on NHL 22?
Well, first off, I thought I was just here for the looks department. That's what I thought.
Yeah, you make up all the looks. Trust me.
Yeah.
That
Oh,
mustache.
everyone's laughing at that. But no, I would, because I'm with you. I thought Lewis was atrocious in this game,
Bad.
and Richie was right there with him. I would take them both out. My fourth line for the next game would be Carpenter, Ruzicka, and Lucic. I know I said earlier about concern about throwing Ruzicka to the Wolves. At this point,
Can't get much worse.
Exactly.
Can't get much worse.
Right. Yeah. The bar hath not been set high for him. So I would make both of those changes. And yeah, I would. Tanev, like, you can make a case for, you're not sitting Hannafin or Anderson. As poorly as they played, you are not doing that. Aside from that, you can make the case for anyone. I know it's been a great story on Stone. I don't think he played particularly well.
No.
And I am over it with Goodbranson and Zadorov. So if one of those two guys needed to eat popcorn for a game while Tanev checked in, would not break my heart. I think Tanev plays really well with Shillington. Like, I think that was a pretty good pairing, and I think he makes Shillington better. But so I'm as frustrated as I get with Shillington. I don't think that's the move that would happen. It's one I would consider, but I do think we are now at the point where guys who are below him on the pecking order have started to play poorly again. So anyone who was sitting for this last one is in the lineup. What would you do, fellow smart Calgary Flames host?
Oh, fellow smart. Wow, that means a lot coming from you. So I'm with you on the Goodbranson Zadorov. I lean a little bit more to Zadorov, who I think has just looked really, really flat, and especially like McDavid's just doing it on purpose now, I think, to try to embarrass this pairing, but specifically Zadorov, who just is so flat to begin with, who gets caught with every opportunity with 97 right in front of him, it seems. And it turns into something magical, which again, I know it's not easy. If like, I'm not saying I could defend the guy. I don't know about you, but I'm not going to speak on your behalf. I don't think you could do it either.
No.
And anybody watching right now could not do it either. So you're kidding yourself if you think you can, but I don't know. I think that's maybe the move. If Tanev's okay, I think Zadorov is the one. And I'm all aboard with you on Carpenter and Ruzicka coming in. At least try it. I know now is not the time to be trying stuff, but like I said, it's a pretty big game coming up, and we experienced it before in the first round against Dallas. But this is a huge game. It's people don't realize that, we talked about it in the first round. The fate of the franchise could rest on this game and the next, right? But it's a big one, and I think that's maybe a good opportunity to get some new looks in there too. Maybe the Oilers have just figured out the matchup game, and now you throw two new pieces in that they haven't seen much of this year.
Right.
Maybe it throws that dynamic off a little bit. I don't know, but I'm all aboard. I love the idea of that.
And Carpenter can help a penalty kill that is playing well, but it feels like they're playing with fire a little bit. On this note, we've talked about the Flames having a bit of a rough go as they fall 4-1 this evening. This is maybe like he's not an easy guy to take a run at in this city because of what he has meant here on a couple of different runs now. I don't think Daryl's having a very good series. I think I understand, like, hey, go get him, boys. But the whole I don't try to line match thing is a lovely thought.
Driving me nuts.
That fourth line should not touch the same ice surface as Connor McDavid at any point for the rest of eternity. Like, you have three lines. I trust the top three lines against Connor McDavid. I think they have done a very good job of building this roster and spreading everyone out to the point where, like, on that top line, we talked about Lindholm, Selke nominee. Matthew Tkachuk was on one of the better shutdown lines for a while when he was with Backlund and Frolik. You have Yarncroc out there who can play well defensively, along with Dylan Dubé. Like, you have you have three shut down lines, three defensively responsible lines that you can throw out there. There is no need for a Trevor Lewis and a Brett Ritchie and a Milan Lucic to share the same ice surface as a Connor McDavid. I get Edmonton has last change, but that doesn't matter when the play is going on and you happen to throw those guys out there. Like it doesn't make any sense to me that is happening. And the lack of any kind of adjustments from game one or from game two to game three, I don't think Daryl is having a very good series here.
No, and I don't even think you can chalk it up to being out-coached, because I don't think that Woodcroft is having to do anything to supplement the way that Daryl is putting his lines out or putting his lineup together. I think he's just kind of like, okay, you're not going to do anything about it. Here we go. We're going to just keep going until you react. And then, we make our decisions based on that.
Right.
But I just, and I don't like, because so many people love Daryl Sutter, and I love Daryl Sutter too. I think he's great. I know better than to question the man. But I'm concerned. Yeah. I'm a little bit like, okay, this is great up to this point, but what are you going to do about it? But that's one thing that I actually had that I wanted to talk about. I'm glad you brought it up, is the fact that why is Milan Lucic on the same ice as Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl? And I hate the guy, but Evander Kane's having a whale of a series too. And what's this line going to do? Yeah. Trevor Lewis took 2 penalties on this line. Do. Yeah, they're going to get scored on. They're going to, they just do stupid things. And this is what we get. I don't know. I'm just a little frustrated is all. Yeah. Like a lot of people showing their support for you for bringing this up, because apparently more people than we think kind of agree with you, you and I on this take.
Good. I always worry, because Daryl Sutter is the best coach the Flames have had since Daryl Sutter, which is a funny thing to say, but you know what I mean?
It's not far off.
Yeah. Like, don't let him be a GM, because that went bad for a while. But yeah, it's been very frustrating to watch. And it's the same thing over and over again. Like, it's like good brand. And I get Connor McDavid is playing the best I've ever seen anyone play in my 32 years of existing and watching sports. First couple of years, I didn't really register a whole lot, but like I've never seen anyone dominating in this way. And so it's tough to say, I don't know, figure something else out. But I know what really won't work. Like, I know there are some things that might work, but I know what definitely won't. And that's having Milan Lucic out there to do anything aside from trash talk Evander Kane. Like, it doesn't have them go out there, grind it out against Zach Kassian, and we'll all have a wonderful time, and let the other guys take care of that top line for Edmonton. Yeah.
I don't know, just minute eaters, just get out there and make sure you do something in the other end. While everybody else rests and recuperates, and then we get everybody else back out there. Okay, quickly from the chat, we'll go over a few more here as well. This one says, if McDavid / the Oilers make the conference final, McDavid is worthy of the Conn Smythe winner, win or lose. I would make a case that he's probably the front runner right now, even if they get bounced by the Flames. This guy is like on another level. Who put the tweet? I'd love to credit the author of this tweet, but it was about the Sidney Crosby winning the Conn Smythe in 2016 and how McDavid already has more points than him, and we're only in the second round, as Crosby had in that first playoff series, which, by the way, probably that Conn Smythe should have gone to Phil Kessel. Everybody knows that.
Right.
Anyways, I digress. Talking about the looks, someone says about you, with that stash, smash. So that's probably the utmost, the highest of praises from the chat right now for your for the mustache. You guys are talking defense only right now, but it was really the offense that failed completely tonight, to be honest.
That's fair. Yeah,
I can understand that point of it.
Everyone sucks.
They were all bad.
Yeah, I've said before about, like, you like to see everyone pulling the rope in the same direction. They all were tonight. They were just pushing the rope, which is a bit more graphic of a thing than I wanted to say. But but no, with this, although but no, like, you're right. Offensively, they're not getting anything going. Like, there's no sustained pressure. It is Johnny Gaudreau races in 1-on-4, passes the puck off, a defenseman makes a bad shot, and Edmonton goes the other way. There's no sustained nothing with this Flames team right now. There's nothing to the front of the net, and it is the second series in a row where life is way too, again, aside from the obvious, life is way too easy on Mike Smith right now. Like, it's delightful that you wanted to crash into him. Just run into him when he's in the crease a couple, not the way that Kadri did with Barbashev.
Yeah, make it a little,
but like screened in
less
front,
obvious.
like just something to make life difficult for Mike Smith when he's actually in the crease and it's legal to do. Like
you just gotta get between his ears. He takes care of the rest if you can just get him in his own head.
Yeah.
Because he will trust me. We've experienced it in this city before.
Yeah.
Mike Smith's worst enemy is Mike Smith.
Yes.
So if you can get him off his game in any little way, start making him get angry, start getting him to wave his stick around and slashing people in the back of the legs, just make him turn against himself.
Yeah.
And good things will happen. I promise you that.
And again, I'm not even I'm not saying like crash into him. Like I'm just saying like have the screens in front and all of that. Like go back to those types of things. And it was frustrating against Dallas because Oettinger was on fire and you were doing nothing to change that. But I could at least in my brain wrap around the thought that Suter and Klingberg and Heiskanen and Lindell were doing a good job of clearing the net. You are not going to convince me that Cody Ceci and Tyson Barrie are able to clear the Flames from the front of the net. I'm sorry, that's a battle you should win. All due respect to those guys. That should not be anything more than a speed bump on your journey here. And at this point, it keeps reverting back to that same old Flames thing. And I hate to do that because they just won a playoff series, but it's all from the outside and it's not sustaining anything. And when they were at their best in game one, they were winning puck battles. They were creating a lot of opportunities from behind the net. And you do that by winning those battles and by outworking your opponent. Flames are doing none of that right now. They're just saying, it's Mike Smith. Let's just walk in, shoot and score. It's been incredibly frustrating to watch.
There's only one answer to the Cody Ceci thing. They're getting sensed. The Flames are getting sensed by Cody Ceci, and that's the only logical response to how I guess okay he's looked, because he's really not that okay. No. But yeah, it's been frustrating. One more here from the chat. I think this is just about all the comments. Yeah, we're caught up here. I think the Oilers' talent is getting in the heads of the Flames, and they're thinking they are beat. We will see what the coach can change from the mindset.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, deflating. Sorry, is what it no I was just going to say it could be deflating. Like it's just, they're being tested and it's a deflating kind of feeling. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I agree entirely. And I think it's most noticeable when Edmonton's on the rush. And I get like, you don't want to get beat by Connor McDavid. So everyone just keeps backing up and backing up and backing up. At some point, you have now backed up to the point where McDavid has got where he needs to get to. Like they'll back up right to the edge of the crease, which means you've given Connor McDavid the slot, which was where you're trying to not let him get to if he does beat you outside and then cut in. Like at some point, I get you don't want to end up on whatever the NHL's version of the NBA's Top Shot is going to be. You don't want to end up on an NFT or have Omar tweeting a gift of you or a gif of you or anything like that. But at some point, step up and make a play. The Flames are doing none of that. The only thing they're trying is when they're already beat, they're doing a stupid little reach with the stick thing that's either drawing a penalty or not being successful at all. So actually step up on this guy. But I do, again, Payne, I do want to give credit to Edmonton, though. Like,
yes,
right? They are playing well. Connor McDavid is playing insane. Hyman is having the series of his life.
Oh my God!
As I've stressed, as frustrating as it is, Fogle and Archibald tonight were an unstoppable force out there. So I do think we do have to at least give a couple of flowers to the play of the Edmonton Oilers tonight.
Oh yeah, the reason we've kept it so Calgary is because it's called Game Over Calgary.
Right.
If I could talk about all the good things Edmonton has done, we would be talking for a lot longer. But yeah, you got to give credit where credit's due. I think Mike Smith was solid tonight for when he was in. I think, like you said, Archibald and Fogle, I had to double take to make sure I wasn't seeing 97 on the back of everybody's sweater tonight, because it just seemed like everybody was playing at that level. And Connor McDavid just doing Connor McDavid things. I don't want to give credit to Evander Kane for obvious reasons, but anyway, that whole top line has played well, and they continue to be dominant. So the Flames need to answer. It's plain and simple. They just need to answer. They need to match it. They need to try to shut it down, because we've been giving a lot of excuses on this show, particularly just because of how good McDavid is, but he is human. After all, so we can hope that even just the slightest little bit of pressure to try to stop this guy in a seemingly impossible task, but we'll see.
Well, this is the difference between regular season and postseason, right? And this is something I said on my own podcast earlier today. In the regular season, you play McDavid, it's a Saturday night, it's hockey night in Canada, and he comes in and he lights you up in this way. And then it's kind of like, okay, well, glad that's over with. Like, did what we could, but it's on to the next one.
Right.
The next one is just him again. Like you don't just get to,
there's no break.
Yeah, it's you can't just go, oh well, guess that's over with now. It's the next day. It's like you're in class and it's like, man, we just had a super hard test and I failed it, but I mean, whatever, you just got to move on. And then you get the test again. Like it is that all the time. And like at some point you have to figure out some semblance of pretending you have an answer for him. And the Flames haven't even come close to pretending to slow him down.
I feel like to refer to your school analogy there, it's like when, to try to stop this guy just to pretend you have an answer. It's like when you have no idea what you're answering on an exam, but you write, 1,000 words anyways, it's just a random crap. That's all they need to do. Just make it look like what you're doing, like lipstick on a pig, and go from there, because I have no words.
Yeah, right now it's a 1,000. Right now it's a 1,000 word count essay that you need to hand in, and the Flames are just handing in 650 and just being like, oh well, I tried. They haven't tried throwing a bunch of whereases in. They haven't tried any very varies. They need to try to buff up this word count a little bit.
That's it.
We beat the hell out of that analogy.
Oh, we did. That was great, though. Hope everybody enjoyed that.
Another thing that's concerning me, and I do want to get back to the chat, and I know I'm just rambling now. So
no,
by all means,
just keep rambling. There's not a whole lot of I know there's a lot of people watching. I can see the view count, but there's not a lot of people actually. Maybe it's a good thing for us. They like what they're listening to, but not a whole lot of comments were caught up. So ramble away.
The thing that really worries me, because McDavid obviously is a great concern, but he has been the whole time. It feels like Draisaitl's getting there now. Like he has obviously been limited in the first 3 games of this series because of an injury. And so you haven't really noticed him. And I don't know if he is getting healthier or he is just understanding how to maximize what he can do with his limitations now. But you look at a couple of those opportunities that were set up on the odd man rush by McDavid. A couple of those are Draisaitl is in the right place, skates away from danger, and then finds the really fast guy to go up ice. And it scares the hell out of me that the Flames are down 2-1 in Edmonton. Like the home ice advantage is gone from the Flames. They're going to have to win one of these in Edmonton now, right? Yeah, they're like 5-7 left here. So they're going to have to win something in Edmonton, and the guy who is capable of scoring 1,000 points in this league has barely pat a mark on this series, and he's starting to wake up. That, from a Flame standpoint, that's the thing that like keeps me up at night and concerns me about how this series is going.
It concerns me more and more because we haven't had that happen yet for the Calgary Flames. Who's woken up yet for this series?
Right.
Nobody, right? Like nobody's really stood up. Nobody's really starting to show signs. It's just been, us two blabbering on here and pumping the tires of Blake Coleman and Jacob Markstrom and Michael Backlund. That's all it's been. That's the only 3 constants so far in this playoff are those 3 players. But it's who the Flames need that moment too. It's like the holy crap moment. Like, this guy's finally here and he means business. So I don't know what it's going to take. As now I mentioned one thing about the chat not popping off and a few messages come in. I'm obviously an Edmonton supporter, but in my opinion, it's the depth of the Flames that has to show up a bit more. That's where the Flames should be a lot better than Edmonton. Dubé, Mangiapane, you have Coleman in there, but I think Coleman's been okay. But Dubé, Mangiapane, and so on need to show up. So
quiet night for Toffoli again too.
Yeah, very quiet night for Toffoli.
And my apologies to Robert for any kind of Toffoli slander.
No Toffoli slander on SDPN. Robert will.
But Toffoli needs to step up, and so does, as we talked about before. I am getting to the point where I'm angry about Yarncroc now. That's one that needs to get figured out here.
Yeah, it's a little bit too late for it to get figured out. It should have kind of figured itself out by now.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing, I've talked about a little bit before, is like, oh crap, I forgot about this guy. And it just seems like it's every night with
Yeah.
Kelly Yarncroke. Would you try Vladar in net just to shake things up? We already talked about that.
Nope.
No, we are going back to Jacob Markstrom. Austin saying, I'm late to the chat. Hopefully you talked about how many plays the Flames let die at the blue line, not being able to keep it in. Good point.
That's
a good point. That's a really good point, because you kind of talked about no sustained pressure, but that's a very good point as well.
Yeah. And there was the ones that got me, it happened on the power play a couple of times. And that is such a killer, because everyone has to come back and then you have to reset and they just stack up 4 guys and you can't do anything. Yep. Like, it's like you've lost the face off. And that significantly makes it more difficult to score there. So no, that is a really good, something I took down in my notes and just forgot to put on the talking points. Thank you for the reminder. That's something that drove me crazy today. It's the same as wasting those shots that we talked about after game 2. So no, that's an excellent point.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. It was frustrating. I keep circling back to one word. It was frustrating, because it just seemed like they just couldn't set anything up and then it would die. It just nothing was sustained. Nothing could be sustained. And that was just the story. So yeah, frustrating, but it's going to be hopefully blue skies ahead. We'll stay cautiously optimistic, as we always do on Game Over Calgary. We're just a smile on our face, moving along, and that's all we can really do at this point, Peter, right? It's just put on a happy face, smile and wave, and then we move on to the next.
Yes, no, I agree. That's basically all you can do. Just lastly here, I don't want to get into predictions for the next one, because they better win, because if they don't, I can't handle the potential of there being a potential elimination game for the Oilers in that building down there. The thought cannot even enter my mind right now. So I'm not going to ask for prediction on the game. Prediction on what happens with Lucic. That's like, again, we've gone away from it the last little bit, because there's been a lot for us to yell about in this game. Yeah. But the big story of the game is Milan Lucic with the hit on Mike Smith. Lucic gets 5 in a game. Does he get any other penalization? Is that a word? I think it might be.
Penalization. Yeah. You got that.
Enough. But
we'll make it up a word.
He's probably getting a chat with player safety anyway. Yeah. Is there anything that comes of it?
At most a fine, I would say. But I really don't think it's warranted. I don't know. They might just throw a fine just to say, hey, we did something about it. Don't do that again. Yeah. Like you brought that up earlier, but I don't think anything more than a fine. I don't think it's going to be a suspension. I know people, Edmonton fans, don't even want it to be a suspension. I don't think it's going to be one. But yeah, I think maybe at most a fine to kind of give them that slap on the wrist, but nothing else.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it'll probably be $2,500 fine. Yeah, and that will be that. I can't see it being anything more than that. Like playoff, I know we've seen a couple more playoff suspensions than normal. And maybe this is I feel weird saying old school in me, because I'm only I'm 32. But like maybe it's the old school in me that like you just don't suspend guys in the playoffs unless it's egregious. But I just don't think this is a suspendable act from a player safety standpoint. So no, I'm with you. I'm with you. Anything else from the chat before we say toodaloo? Markstrom getting outplayed by Mike Smith. Here come the Oilers fans. It's not inaccurate. It's like, not. Yeah, Markstrom's been fine, but Smith's been really good. Yeah. Tkachuk gets his mind back on offense in this series, or Kane is getting under his skin? Question mark. 100-point guy on a 120 goal line. His Martian impression is nice, but it's not producing goals. Yeah, but I don't even think that's a legit reason. Like his Martian impression, he's not really doing anything to get under the skin of anybody right now. No, he's just completely ineffective, which is not nice criticism for him. No, like right now it's a Cassian impression. It's not a Marchand impression. Yeah. He's doing his best at Cassian in this series. Like he's been a non-factor. Aside from like the Flames, this is what their 10th playoff game. Tkachuk has been good in 2 of them. Like he was very good in 1. But this is a big problem now. We are at 80% of the Flames playoff games where Tkachuk has been a 0 at best. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's concerning. And it's not even a Marchand impression at this point. It's like you said, I think the Cassian comparison is great. And that's it. We're caught up on the chat here. So All right.
That'll, I think, just about conclude it.
Yeah, I think so. We will let Auddie get to his MLB The Show playing.
The new Roy Halladay program just dropped on Diamond Dynasty. So
oh, that's right. Yes.
To get that 95 Roy Halladay. My inner Jays fan is just like screaming. So
I just love that he's represented in the game. It has been way too long.
I know it's been so long. It's been so long.
No, you can get the creative version and stuff like that, but it's still. All right, Auddie, where can people find you, sir?
You can find me on Twitter at Auddie James, on Instagram at Auddie James _, and you can find me on my PlayStation in about 5 minutes.
I am at Primetime Klein on Twitter and Instagram, twitch.tv/primetimepk. And I have a podcast called Couch Potato Diary. It would be super duper if you were to subscribe to that. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Let us know what you like about the show. I'm enjoying it so far, despite
I'm having a good time. I get to work with the legendary Peter Klein. What more is there not to like?
Jeez, look, you can say the legendary Peter, and there's 2 other guys at least in this city that you would think of before you get to my name. Like I'm the bronze medalist for Calgary Radio Peters, but thank you.
You're great.
But yes, let us know what you like. Let us know what you don't like. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. All of that helps out a great deal. We thank you all so much. It's been a blast doing these for you. As angry as we might get, it's just we are matching your frustration. Hopefully, it's a bit more of a positive experience when we reconvene for Game 4 coming up in a couple of nights.